My girlfriend once said she hated arrogant rich heirs more than anything. So for her, I hid my real identity and lived like I was broke. For 6 years, I played the poor boyfriend. And the moment I was ready to reveal everything and marry her, I caught her making out with another man inside a Ferrari. Worse, she admitted the affair without a trace of shame. I stared at the explosive headlines flooding my phone, and at Liu Ruyan's breakup text on the screen. Cold laugh escaped me. Then I told my secretary, from today on, cut off every bit of support we gave Liu Ruyan. Sitting on my executive sofa, I looked at those scandal photos in silence. In the photos, Liu Ruyan was beaming, sitting on a red sports car, arms around a man's neck, kissing him passionately. Then there were photos of them entering a hotel together. Liu Ruyan had no intention of hiding it from the start. There were photos from every possible angle. I almost forgot, with her current status, she probably felt no need to hide anymore. She went from being a nobody and 18th-tier star to becoming one of the most sought-after young starlets in the industry. Every step of her journey had been incredibly smooth. Whether in the industry or in public opinion, everyone had a great impression of her. Not to mention, she just landed an endorsement for the world-famous brand, Abel. Her resources and opportunities were peaking. Having a romantic relationship in the process was nothing unusual. No one would find it inappropriate. Instead, some would call her free-spirited, risking everything for love. But no one knew that I was the one manipulating her resources and reputation from the shadows. I remember when I first met her, she sobbed, telling me she couldn't stand the dirty rules of the industry and the people who created those filthy rules. She swore she would stand in the spotlight with a clean conscience. How pathetic that I actually believed her back then. And I stayed by her side for all these years, since she now thinks she's capable enough to stand on her own and insists on parting ways with me. Then let her be. I put down my phone and spoke to the secretary standing before me. Stop all support for Liu Ruyan. Inform those directors for me. Tell them they no longer need to do me any favors. They can just cast actors normally. Yes, President Zhou. I will handle this discreetly. Please rest assured. The secretary had been with me for years. He understood exactly what I meant. Didn't Liu Ruyan hate the dirty rules of the industry the most? Well, I happen to be the creator of those very rules. I used to shield her from them, but there's no need for that anymore. President Zhou, there is one more thing. Abel just sent another invitation, sincerely requesting your presence at their launch event. The chairman has also insisted that you attend, otherwise, he'll come looking for you himself. Before this, the head of Abel Asia had sent me several invitations to attend their launch event. But knowing Liu Ruyan would be there, I did not want her to know I was the dirty industry power player she despised so much. So I kept refusing. Because of this, the chairman of the group, my grandfather, had called me several times. For the past few years, I've declined countless events for Liu Ruyan's sake, to the point where people in the circle wondered if the president of Zhou Group had become a monk. Only now did I realize how much manpower, money, and time I had wasted on her. So, I told my secretary, reply to Abel. Tell them I'll be there. Also, please call the old man back. Tell him that I, Zhou Feng, am back. He doesn't need to worry about the group's affairs. He can just enjoy his retirement. Yes, welcome back, President Zhou. A relieved smile appeared on the secretary's face. He then left my office. I changed out of my cheap casual clothes and finally got a proper haircut. The next day, I arrived at the Abel launch event as planned. As a world-renowned leader in cosmetics, Abel's event was held at the city's most prestigious hotel. Most of the attendees were high-profile celebrities and entrepreneurs from across Asia. The media had the hotel perimeter completely packed. The secretary parked the sports car outside and said to me, President Zhou, should I call and have them clear the media away? No need. I've grown used to it. During the years I spent with Liu Ruyan, I had disguised myself as an ordinary man. The media focuses on all sorts of famous figures every day. A Zhou Group president missing for years would never be on their radar. But the secretary was still worried, so I ordered him to go park the car alone, while I got out and headed straight for the hotel. Sure enough, the media only cared about photographing the big screen stars, showing zero interest in an unfamiliar face like mine. Just as I handed my invitation to the security guard, a thunderous roar erupted from behind me. Liu Ruyan, Liu Ruyan. I turned around and saw Liu Ruyan on the arm of a slicked-back, pampered man, stepping out of that red Ferrari. Liu Ruyan looked exceptionally beautiful today. Every glance and smile seemed to hold a certain magic. I had forgotten that she was naturally stunning. With the addition of Abel's cosmetics, she naturally outshone everyone else. She was no longer the invisible girl who had once been forced to drink at business dinners. She skillfully greeted the surrounding media and fans, her slender white arm naturally clinging to the man's. She looked delicate yet poised. However, the moment she saw me at the door, the smile on her face froze instantly. The man beside her noticed her unease, so he followed her gaze, and our eyes met. This man wasn't entirely strange to me. My secretary had shown me his photo before, but I hadn't paid much attention because I was rushing to celebrate Liu Ruyan's birthday. I didn't expect to meet him in person today. Compared to Liu Ruyan's awkwardness and tension, his reaction was far more blatant. He moved Liu Ruyan's hand from his arm to a tight grip, then walked past me as if to assert dominance. He tossed 2 invitations into the security guard's hand and said, "Today is a big day for Abel. You'd better do your jobs right and don't let just any random stray in." With that, he gave me a provocative wink and pulled Liu Ruyan inside. Facing his provocation, I simply gave a slight smile, arrogant, thinking he's the center of the world, with no one above him. This is a common trait among most industry newcomers. I've seen plenty of people like him. After they entered, I followed them into the hotel lobby. It was clear that Abel had spared no expense this time. The entire hotel, from the top floor down, was covered in giant posters of Liu Ruyan. I had only told my secretary to hint that Liu Ruyan was my girlfriend. I didn't expect them to go to such lengths. Liu Ruyan was ahead of me, and as soon as she entered the lobby, she was surrounded by a crowd. Most of them were producers and brand representatives, all hoping to gain something from her. Liu Ruyan seemed to enjoy the feeling of being the center of attention, handling them with ease. Just as I was looking for my seat, Liu Ruyan's boyfriend appeared out of nowhere and slapped a card into my hand. "I know who you are. You just want money, don't you? Here's 100,000. Now get lost." I toyed with the bank card in my hand, looking at the guy in front of me as if he were an idiot. It seems I've been ridiculously low profile these past few years, that a rookie like this actually dares to act up in front of me. But he mistook my disdain for greed. It seems Judja was right after all. Someone like you doesn't deserve her love. I'll add another 100,000. Don't let me see you ever again. Otherwise, I'll make you pay the price. Oh? The price? A nobody in the entertainment industry like you, what price could you possibly make me pay? I looked at him mockingly, as if I were watching a clown. No one has ever dared to threaten me since the day I was born. He actually managed to pique my curiosity. I wonder if you've ever heard of Zhou's Entertainment Company, Ltd. Let me tell you, I'm about to sign a contract with them. I heard from Judja that you're just a lowly script supervisor. If I wanted to ruin you, it would only take one word. Zhou's Entertainment. Hearing that name, I almost burst out laughing. Isn't he talking about my own company? Since when was I going to sign him? Wait, that stack of photos my secretary brought last time seemed to be of recent newcomers. But those were just candidates. Who actually gets signed is up to me. Ridiculous. He actually mistook being a candidate for being signed. Truly, ignorance is bliss. Scared now, are you? Face reality. You and Judja no longer belong to the same world. Just get lost already. Looking at his spiteful face, a wave of disgust suddenly surged within me. I immediately took out my phone and called my secretary. Hello? I'm already in the underground parking lot. I'm heading up now. No rush. I just wanted to ask about someone among the latest batch of candidates. At this point, I realized that I didn't even know this guy's name, so I looked at him and asked, "What's your name?" He actually didn't know who I was. He seemed to think he was some big shot. He immediately became as irritable as a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I couldn't be bothered with his nonsense, so I told my secretary bluntly, "The boyfriend of Liu Ruyan. I've got it. It's Gu Bin. Don't worry, President Zhou. I've already crossed his name off the signing list, and I've notified the other entertainment companies. None of them will sign Gu Bin now." Good. I understand. I made this call just to confirm if what the secretary showed me was indeed the signing list and contracts. Seems it really was. Just as I put down the phone, Liu Ruyan's displeased voice came from behind me. Zhou Feng, I didn't expect you to be so vain, actually playing such childish tricks. I hadn't intentionally lowered my voice during the call, so the entire conversation between me and my secretary reached Liu Ruyan's ears, and I had no idea when she had come to stand behind me. I slowly turned around and saw Liu Ruyan's angry face. She strode over to Gubin, stood beside him, and said to me, I made it very clear in the breakup text. We belong to two different worlds now. Can you please stop clinging to me? If you want money, you can tell me over the phone. I'll give you some. Liu Ruyan, could you stop thinking you're so important? I didn't come here for you, nor did I come for money. In fact, I have nothing to do with you anymore. I'm here because I received an invitation. It's as simple as that. Do you think this is a wet market where anyone can just walk in? You didn't bribe the security at the door to get in, did you? Gubin grabbed a nearby waiter and said to him, this man doesn't have an invitation. He sneaked in. Are you going to handle this? Are you going to handle this or not? Hello, sir. Our guest list is based on real names. Such a situation wouldn't happen. You must be mistaken. With that, the waiter strode away. Gubin's expression turned sour. At that moment, Liu Ruyan stepped forward, speaking to me in a tone that was almost a command. Zhou Feng, it's over between us. I ask you to stop making a scene. Let's act as if today never happened. Otherwise, once the press conference starts, I'll have security escort you out. Are you doing me a favor here? Should I thank you for that? Enough, Zhou Feng. I don't know how you got in here, but do you realize every seat here is reserved? When the conference starts, there will be no place for you. Even if I don't say anything, the organizers will ask you to leave. I suggest you leave right now. As soon as Liu Ruyan finished speaking, Gubin's eyes lit up. He grabbed Liu Ruyan's arm and said, wait, how could we miss such a rare show? Having said that, he shouted to the people around them, everyone, come look, there's a paparazzi who sneaked in here. The people present were always very sensitive to paparazzi. Upon hearing his words, they began to gather around, and naturally I became the center of attention. I looked around and found that these people were all nobodies to me, yet they dared to cast looks of disgust at me. Some even hurled insults my way. Liu Ruyan's expression also turned unpleasant. She hadn't expected Gubin to suddenly draw a crowd, but she wasn't worried about me. She was worried I'd reveal our past and embarrass her. After all, in her eyes, I was still that broke script supervisor. So, she spoke to the crowd with great generosity. Everyone, he's just an overzealous fan of mine. Please don't be hard on him. Just let him leave. Then she looked at me and whispered, Zhou Feng, just leave. It won't be good if this escalates. Zhou Feng, why does that name sound so familiar? Liu Ruyan's voice was low, but someone nearby still heard it. That person frowned, thinking for a long while, before finally realizing, I remember now. Isn't the CEO of the Zhou Group named Zhou Feng? His words exploded like a bombshell among the crowd. Liu Ruyan and Gubin stared at me in utter disbelief, but I did not think being recognized here was anything worth boasting about. My expression remained indifferent. Their reactions were completely insignificant to me. Just as everyone was discussing my identity, another middle-aged man dressed as an entrepreneur shook his head. That can't be right. I heard President Zhou rarely attends these events these days. Even the paparazzi don't know where he is. It's unlikely he would appear here, right? I heard that too. Besides, Abel sent 7 invitations to President Zhou, and he declined every single one. I bet this Zhou Feng is a fake. The seating here is strictly by invitation. Just check whether President Zhou has a seat here, and we will know if he is fake or not. As the last person spoke, everyone suddenly became frenzied, searching the hall like they were on stimulants, until they searched every single seat and still couldn't find mine. Especially Liu Ruyan. The panic and doubt in her eyes vanished instantly, replaced by cold indifference. I knew it. How could President Zhou not have bodyguards, especially Secretary Wang, who is President Zhou's personal guard? There's no way he'd go out without him. They seemed convinced I wasn't the CEO of the Zhou Group, so I became a pathetic little paparazzi they could bully again. Gubin even shouted for security to throw me out. While the chaos unfolded on the first floor, a middle-aged man in a sharp suit slowly descended from the second floor. Looking at the noise below, he frowned slightly, then shouted from the stairs, Quiet! At the sound of his voice, everyone immediately turned around. When they saw who was standing on the stairs, they gasped in shock and fell silent one by one. Only I stood there with a smile, completely unfazed by this man. The moment he stepped off the stairs, Gu Bin and Liu Ruyan rushed toward him. "Uncle Huang, did the noise downstairs disturb you?" Liu Ruyan asked with a flattering smile, cautiously following beside him. This man was none other than the general manager of Able Asia, who happened to be Liu Ruyan's current financial backer, Huang Wen. Huang Wen didn't even look at her, snorting coldly before saying, "I am here to pick up President Zhou. And, stop calling me Uncle Huang. Mr. Huang is more appropriate." "Mr. Huang, which President Zhou are you referring to?" Gu Bin asked in a low voice. Huang Wen completely ignored him, walking straight toward me. As he approached, the crowd surrounding me instinctively parted and cleared a path for him. Huang Wen stopped before me and bowed deeply, then said with deep apology, "I am sorry, President Zhou. It was my oversight to let you suffer this noise." Huang Wen's sudden reaction caught everyone off guard. Took a while for Gu Bin to react, before he rushed forward and told Huang Wen, "Mr. Huang, could you be mistaken? He's just a script supervisor." Slap. The moment Gu Bin finished speaking, Huang Wen delivered a heavy slap to his face. Then, he poured champagne over his hand to wash it, as if that slap had dirted his hand. "Humph, you blind fool. Who are you to speculate on President Zhou's identity?" With that, Huang Wen made a gesture of invitation. "President Zhou, your seat is on the second floor. I have arranged a banquet. Let's talk over dinner." Fine. I stepped past Gu Bin and Liu Ruyan, walking up the stairs without a second glance. That's when the secretary finally arrived. "President Zhou, I have already blocked all commercial activities for Liu Ruyan and Gu Bin. Completely banned. I've also settled things with the directors. Is there anything else you'd like to add?" Secretary Wang climbed the stairs in a few strides, reporting to me, "I've always trusted his efficiency." I skimmed through the documents and handed them back. "Find out who all those people on the first floor are, and handle them as you see fit. I suffered their arrogance for too long downstairs. It's time to settle the score with all of them." The secretary nodded coldly. I suspect he already had a plan in mind. By now, Huang Wen's forehead was covered in beads of sweat. His status was high, but it depends on who he's compared to. In front of me, his rank as Able's Asia head is still insufficient. After I went upstairs, the first floor instantly erupted in chaos. No one expected my identity to actually be real. Gu Bin was consumed by regret, wishing he could slap himself repeatedly. But it was too late now. Liu Ruyan stood frozen in place, staring blankly as Huang respectfully escorted me into the VIP room. As the spokesperson for Able, she didn't even have the right to dine at the same table as Huang Wen. Shortly after, Liu Ruyan's phone suddenly rang. It was her manager. Liu Ruyan answered the phone in a daze. The manager's roar immediately blasted through the phone. "Liu Ruyan, who the hell did you offend? Why are several directors who already signed contracts suddenly canceling? And several upcoming endorsements just called to terminate? What on earth did you do?" Hearing this, Liu Ruyan finally snapped back to reality, and looked up at the second floor in terror. Before she could utter a word, the manager roared again. "Liu Ruyan, let me tell you, I don't care who you offended. Go apologize to them immediately. Find a way to get their forgiveness. Or you can just wait to be blacklisted." Click. The call was cut off. Liu Ruyan was completely devastated. Ever since she met me, her entertainment career had been smooth sailing. Her manager practically worshipped her. Now facing this crisis, she was completely in the dark, with no idea where to even start. At the same time, the phones of Gu Bin and everyone else on the first floor rang frantically. As they answered their phones one by one, their expressions instantly turned ghastly. These were likely the most terrifying calls of their lives. The moment Gu Bin put down his phone, the light in his eyes vanished, replaced by a hollow, lifeless void. His most prized films were all frozen simultaneously, and the production he was about to join told him not to bother coming. Most fatally, the contract with the Zhou Group was now out of the question. This effectively ended his entertainment career. From now on, he no longer belonged in this circle. Meanwhile, Huang Wen and I entered the VIP room. As expected, a banquet had been laid out, but to my complete surprise, someone was already seated comfortably at the table. I was startled the moment I saw him and blurted out, "Dad, weren't you in the Maldives? Why are you back so suddenly?" Indeed, the man sitting there was the highest authority in the Zhou Group, and also my father, Zhou Sihai. He had gone to the Maldives after I joined the company. I used to visit him every year, but I hadn't been there for a few years since I was with Liu Ruyan. I didn't expect him to actually come back. Humph. You brat. If I didn't come back to check, the group would have died in your hands. My father grunted, then waved for me to sit beside him. Huang Wen and the secretary tactfully stood to the side, not daring to interfere in our father-son conversation. Xiaofeng, I've heard about your situation, letting a woman affect the group's reputation. This doesn't seem like something you'd do. What's more ridiculous is that she dumped you. Do you have any idea how much damage this would cause the group's reputation? I know. I'm already thinking of ways to make up for it and save the situation. I admit I lost my head for a while. If it weren't for Secretary Wang's diligent care, the group's performance would likely be even worse. But now that I've come to my senses, this small loss can still be recovered. What's the point of just making up for it? Let me tell you, I came back to settle your marriage, to prevent you from being manipulated by love again. No way. Am I, the CEO of the Zhou Group, now facing an arranged marriage? I looked at my father, pretending to be surprised. I knew he wouldn't just pick anyone to marry me, but he also knows I'm not someone who follows every order. Just then, a sweet voice echoed from behind the screen in the VIP room. Brother Xiaofeng, if it were me, would you be satisfied? The moment I heard that voice, I instinctively shuddered. Then I remembered the owner of that voice, Liu Ruyan. If there's anyone I've been afraid of since childhood, she's definitely number one. The Liu Group, where Liu Ruyan came from, was a sister group to the Zhou Group. Liu Ruyan and I can be considered childhood sweethearts. It's just that she was quite wild growing up. She was even crazier than I was. That's why Uncle Liu eventually sent her abroad to study. I never expected her to come back too. As the voice faded, Liu Ruyan indeed stepped out from behind the screen. The moment I saw her, I was instantly stunned. My memory was still stuck on her being dark and thin, with 2 braids pinning me to the ground and beating me up. I never imagined that after a few years, she would turn into such an elegant young woman. I kept staring at her. Her cheeks instantly flushed red. Then she ran to my father, leaning on his shoulder, and said, "Uncle Zhou, Brother Xiaofeng doesn't seem to be listening to you. He dares." My father slammed the table, about to blow his top. Seeing this, Liu Ruyan immediately began massaging his shoulders. Then she said to me, "Brother Xiaofeng, you see? You mustn't go against Uncle Zhou's wishes." This father and daughter act in front of me really gave me a headache. Helplessly, I could only agree for the time being. The able press conference was about to begin. As I led my secretary and Liu Ruyan out of the VIP room, the area outside was crowded. Seeing me come out, Gu Bin immediately rushed forward, knelt and tried to cling to my leg, but Secretary Wang pressed him down with one hand. His face was now covered in tears and snot. My clothes were extremely expensive, and it would be a disaster if he stained them. "President Zhou, please, give me a way out. I was blind. From now on, I'll do whatever you tell me to do." At this moment, he looked like a stray dog, without a trace of his earlier arrogance. I looked down at him, and then gave a slight smile. "Bark like a dog for me, huh?" Gu Bin didn't expect me to suddenly ask him to bark, so he froze on the spot. In a flash, I had already walked past him. Once he snapped out of it, regardless of the shame, he immediately sprawled on the floor and started barking. The sound was so loud it echoed in everyone's ears. "Not bad. You bark quite well, but I don't lack dogs around me." I flashed a mocking smile, then turned to go downstairs. Gu Bin was like a dog with a broken spine, collapsing on the floor. Countless cameras around him were clicking away. Since it was a press conference, there were naturally official photographers, but before they could photograph the product, they captured an even more shocking scene. The value of this news is no less than the able product launch. After today, Gu Bin will completely become the laughingstock of the entertainment industry. But what does it matter? Many people have been made laughingstocks by me over the years. As soon as I went downstairs, I was blocked by Liu Ruyan at the stairs. Her eyes were red, clearly having just cried. If this were in the past, I would have been heartbroken seeing her like this. But now, my heart is completely calm, even slightly impatient. Zhou Feng, why are you doing this to me? Her first sentence completely stunned me. She was the one who dumped me first, and now she's turning it around, asking why I'm doing this to her? Now she's turning it around, asking why I'm doing this to her? I couldn't be bothered to argue with her, so I waved for Secretary Wang to stop her. I then walked toward the central steps on the first floor. Liu Ruyan continued to scream recklessly, even going so far as to shout about our past, in front of everyone. Now everyone present knew that the CEO of the Zhou Group had actually given up his family business for 5 whole years, for a bottom-tier starlet. The impact of this news was no less explosive than a top star, barking like a dog in public. Just before taking the stage, I looked back at Liu Ruyan, and the last shred of pity in my heart completely vanished. She was like a completely different person now. I started to wonder if the woman I had loved all those years was really the same person before me. She continued to scream hysterically, exposing everything I had ever done for her. Just as she was shouting passionately, Liu Ruyan suddenly shoved her expensive designer bag into Huang Wen's hands and stepped forward to slap Liu Ruyan across the face. Slap! The crisp sound echoed throughout the entire venue. Liu Ruyan's crazed screaming came to an abrupt halt. Zhou Feng is my fiancé. He has been for the past 5 years. I don't know which hole you crawled out of, you lunatic, but if you insult my fiancé again, I can and will sue you. Liu Ruyan's dominance stunned everyone present, including me. If I had any doubts about her before, now I am 100% certain. She is indeed the same Liu Ruyan who used to pin me down and beat me up. Liu Ruyan had been slapped, and half of her face instantly swelled up. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan acted as if nothing had happened, took her bag back from Huang Wen, walked to my side, and linked her arm with mine. She then gave my waist a sharp pinch and whispered fiercely, "Your taste is absolutely terrible. If I hadn't cleaned up your mess, you'd be facing total ruin today." I gave a faint smile and covered her hand with my other one, saying, "Don't worry, it won't happen again." The media captured this affectionate moment. Tomorrow, this will be another headline. Using the Able launch as an opportunity, I announced to the media that I would take over the Zhou Group, and in a few days at this very hotel, I would end a 5-year relationship and marry my fiancée Liu Ruyan. This news was like a bombshell to the entertainment industry. At least those idol stars dreaming of marrying into wealth could give up now. Liu Ruyan also shared a fictional love story at the press conference. It was indeed touching, but only we knew it was a lie. But what does it matter? As long as the result is good, that's all that counts. Everyone, due to Miss Liu Ruyan's recent behavior, we will cease all further cooperation with her. Our new spokesperson is Miss Liu Ruyan. Huang Wen made a grand gesture. Liu Ruyan stepped onto the stage with a smile, gracefully delivering her speech to the media. Meanwhile, Liu Ruyan looked as devastated as a doll abandoned by its owner, slumped on the floor, her eyes completely devoid of hope. While Liu Ruyan was speaking, the Able staff quickly replaced all of Liu Ruyan's posters with Liu Ruyan's portraits. The torn posters of Liu Ruyan were carelessly tossed onto the inconspicuous hotel lobby floor, just like Liu Ruyan herself right now, worn out and useless. I thought Liu Ruyan would just give up, but I didn't expect her to take to the internet to cry about her plight. In her version of the story, I became the man who tossed aside 5 years of love for an arranged marriage, a heartless traitor. Her brainless fans completely forgot how affectionate she and Gubin had been just a few days ago, and instead, they all turned their arrows toward me. But to me, this was like a mere drizzle. No matter how they attacked me online, it had absolutely no negative effect on me. On the contrary, because of their collective outrage, the Zhou Group actually gained a wave of free exposure, to the point where our artists and the company all benefited. Just because I didn't care doesn't mean no one did. Secretary Wang asked if he should step in and teach Liu Ruyan a lesson. I didn't agree, not because I still harbored feelings for her, but at this critical moment, if attacking Liu Ruyan was manipulated and twisted by others, it would have some impact on the company one way or another. But what I didn't expect was that while Secretary Wang didn't act, Liu Ruyan took action openly. First, she blasted those brainless fans online. Then she hired a fleet of trolls to push the Able press conference onto the trending searches. Nothing is more convincing than a video. Unfortunately, when Liu Ruyan broke up with me, she cut ties too cleanly. She couldn't even produce a single photo of us together, leaving her completely defeated in the court of public opinion. The fans who once supported her now became the sharpest blades, stabbing her until she was covered in wounds. Without a doubt, this battle ended in another victory for Liu Ruyan. When she entered my office like a proud, triumphant gamecock, I did not say a single word. Instead, I pulled her into my arms and kissed her passionately. Only now do I understand what I truly want, and who I truly love. Liu Ruyan didn't have to do any of this, yet she caused such a stir just for me. She even spoke up for me online as the Zhou Group's heiress and the wife of the Zhou Group CEO. If I didn't love someone like her, I'd be a complete fool. Liu Ruyan was startled by my sudden move. She froze in my arms for a moment, but then she relaxed completely and began to thoroughly enjoy the feeling. Let's get married. After a long moment, we pulled apart, and out of breath, I whispered those words to her. Her cheeks flushed a soft red. She nodded shyly, without saying a word. With the coordination of our two families, the wedding took place at the hotel as scheduled. Uncle Liu had only one daughter, Liu Ruyan, so after our marriage, the Liu Group announced its merger with the Zhou Group. With the combined power of our two families, dominating the Asian entertainment industry was no problem at all. And through a series of my strategic moves, Liu Ruyan has suddenly become the ultimate dark horse in the industry. Not only did numerous A-list stars reach out to collaborate, but directors were delivering scripts to her door for her to choose from. At the wedding, I received a red envelope from Liu Ruyan, but I didn't open it. Instead, I handed it to Liu Ruyan, as expected. Inside was a threatening letter from Liu Ruyan. She claimed she would jump off a building if I didn't get back with her. For such a childish threat, I obviously didn't give it a second thought. Amidst the warmth and joy, the wedding concluded perfectly. Later, I heard about Liu Ruyan's current situation from Secretary Wang. In the end, she didn't have the courage to kill herself, but now she has no resources left. Not only is no entertainment company willing to sign her, she even has to pay back exorbitant breach of contract fees. Under such immense pressure, she chose to film adult movies. As for Gu Bin, his situation is far worse than Liu Ruyan's. He has now become a mere toy for wealthy women. He barely gets a decent night's sleep, to the point where he was completely drained, becoming a living corpse. I sat in my office, looking at the documents Secretary Wang brought. My heart was completely at peace. So much time has passed. I no longer feel anything for them. Just then, a pair of fair arms quietly wrapped around my shoulders. Then Liu Ruyan's exquisite face leaned in close. "Zhou Feng, are you thinking about rekindling an old flame?" I tossed the documents on the desk and laughed. Laughing, I said, "No, just reading a joke." With that, I kissed her lips. Liu Ruyan wrapped her arms around my neck and whispered in my ear, "Congratulations, you're going to be a father."